Saturday Showdown. Deepest Kia versus Genji.
Comes to those top lane picks. We know if he can get his hands on things. I mean, that's the thing. Okay, I will say, game one, I feel like counter pick may not be as valuable for top lane specifically because we've seen so much early slamming of Olaf.
Yeah, exactly.
But then maybe a first pick is higher prior, and then Olaf comes in 1-2 on second pick. So we'll see how that goes. Interesting, the Ezreal ban. Something that, I mean, we did see Ezreal bans, but it's been kind of here and there. Not one of those sort of staple perma bans that we've had.
The one game I think that Geo has won was with Ezreal.
That's
so
fair.
maybe that's what they're going off. The Vi, pretty understandable ban, but Cassio Ori is well and truly established here in the LCK. Wow, that was almost a hiccup.
I thought you did just hiccup.
I don't know what it was.
Okay.
Hiccups aren't contagious, right?
I don't know.
God.
Apparently, the reason the fish thing works is because hiccups are derived from when...
He's still going?
Kate also had to look it up, but apparently because it derives from fish.
I mean, I guess we did all evolve from fish.
Yeah. Maybe you're just like drowning in the air because
Because we're
you have to remind yourself
we're
you're not
actually
a
a
fish.
fish out of water.
Yeah.
It
So
all
if
makes sense.
if you have hiccups, then there you go. You can test the theory. But Cinder
Well,
ban coming through means I think Rise pretty likely to be prioritized here. We have to see the Cinder picked into the Rise.
Yeah.
And that will be a first pick there for Chovy.
All right.
Now for KT, will they just prio the Olaf here for Perfect in the first two? I'm also interested to see how sort of jungle support prio. I think jungle, if I'm being honest, I don't think the changes have done that much. I think the impact on support is more prominent. The Sundered Sky change, you know, I was actually looking at the numbers. Aragon sent me some numbers over that he'd actually gone over.
Yeah.
The 50 health in early skirmishes compensates for a lot of the less healing you'd have. And it's such a big one-item spike that's very relevant. KT immediately slam the Jin Karma. And if we think about the support changes leaning more towards playing the 2v2, this is obviously a solid 2v2. And I wonder, is Gen G going to try and match that now? Lucian Milio is available.
That's so scary.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Ruler's hands. Or they're going to go and try and pick the top side of the map. That Olaf is still potentially on the cards. They go for Lee Sin Rise. Very strong combo. And obviously Canyon terrific on that Lee Sin. And they are just going to slam that Olaf for Keen here.
So the Jarvan can be an answer. I know it's in a completely different role, but Jarvan into Olaf can really ruin his day by just putting him in the naughty corner. But Kled is up and available. The Jax is up and available. Some options here for Perfect to play if he would like to. Instead, Nefiri going to be the consideration for Cuz.
Shown a lot of confidence to say we don't need to answer the Olaf now. And a big factor in this game is that going to bite them in the behind? Because when you have Nefiri, when you have Jin, these are not picks that are great at shredding through an Olaf. And if you've given the opportunity for Gen G to ban away more of these top lane answers, it means Perfect might end up in a difficult situation, or we might be very confident in what he has prepared.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for KT's composition, I'm not going to lie. But we'll see how it does come together as they lock in a couple of solo lanes after this. The Annie will be taken away from BDD. Pairings alongside the Nefiri, like Annie is definitely a great one. Some setup CC is always useful for a jungler that doesn't have much of their own. As the Bard is going to be taken away from Duro as well. I think deserving that ban more and more here as far as his Bard play is concerned. Duro was kind of one of our players that did have the Bard kind of ignored against him because he wasn't necessarily the best, but over the last couple of weeks has looked better. As Camille also going to be still taken away.
No, but this is
despite the
interesting because
changes.
they already have the Karma. So they're banning the Camille here, concerned about the top lane Camille.
Oh yeah, true.
With the changes that came through, I do think there is some struggle still for Camille because the changes made it so she could trade more frequently, but her shield early is half as big. So I wasn't sure if we were necessarily going to see it. Gen G were concerned they would. They ban it away. And Kled comes through. This is Perfect's answer. Interesting that of all the typical answers we've seen in the top lane, Kled, Jax, Vayne into the Olaf, none of them were banned there by Gen G in the second rotation.
Yeah.
And Perfect still gets what he wants.
They just seem to not care about it. Ruler is thinking about a Varus. We'll see which version of the Varus it is going to be, as up against the Jhin. I guess maybe you're leaning a little bit more towards the lethality version, but this would also be an option. And Yunara Lulu on the table. And Genji could just lock it away here. A lot of great wild growth targets here on Genji. So I think that the Yunara Lulu angle looks like a good one. Yunara has been finding a lot of success over the last week or so. As Effort is going to hover a Teemo and then a Nasus, I would assume. There it is.
If you think about the items that have been buffed as well for AD carries, we saw Yuntal a little bit ago, but Runan's being buffed.
Yep.
So potentially you could see a look in towards the Runans on the Yunara. We'll see what build path he goes towards. But I think a big thing for me is that with the XP changes, this is less relevant in this matchup because you are just going to be laning into the Karma. But Lulu gets such a big benefit from a level 6 being available. When I think about champions that don't want to roam, want to soak up that XP and get to that level 6 sooner, but aren't those melee engagers, I think of Lulu. And Lulu has great targets here. For me, Genji has a really strong mid-jungle. You have the setup from the Rise to allow the Lee Sin to connect his abilities. You have the Olaf and the Yunara who will scale well and be great targets to buff. And on this side for KT, they do have the Kled, which you've seen have success in the Olaf. We do have the TF, the Fairy with some good skirmishing power. But I really just feel like if they fall behind, they're really going to struggle in this composition.
Yeah.
They don't have a ton of damage. Picking the TF into Olaf feels very brave.
Yeah, brave is also very close to stupid. So we'll see whether BDD can overcome that. I was a bit worried about it as well. I mean, Jhin and TF, the two champions that I think are the most associated with, they will not be able to get through said target.
Yeah.
And Olaf is certainly one that will just basically add like a cap, right? Like, you have to be able to get through this damage threshold, otherwise it is just kind of over. But some interesting drafts, and the 1-3-1 is a thing that KT can play through, right? TF is notably very, very good at playing 1-3-1, and could also, have the Kled in a side lane as well, as we are going to do some headset swapping. And this is something that has been really brought to the forefront by the Kesper Cup finals the last couple of games. We swapped so many headsets, Daniel. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's the meta now?
That is the meta now. Cuz is like, you know what? It's going to be me. It wasn't Cuz, it was Gio, I think, that did do it. Normally it was Sharvel that we were watching. If you then saw what he did on Lee Sin in Game 1 against Nongshim, you'd be like, man, I should be swapping my headset out every
maybe
game
Canyon
as well.
should be swapping his headset
That's
out.
what I was thinking.
He is playing Lee Sin.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to have to do that. So hopefully we do get the... Wow, that's pretty cool. She's been here supporting Perfect multiple times this year, by the way.
I love the evolution that we've had, like the fan signs with the cutout. This is just using your own hands to do the dance.
Yeah.
That's some great work.
Very good. All right, we got some giggles on both sides of the rift as far as our players are concerned as well. Smile on Chovy's face, which is sometimes relatively rare moving into games. This guy is generally pretty serious. Well, let's do it. Let's get onto the rift here for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Onto the rift for game number 1, Genji versus KT. And already we're seeing some players meet one another. BDD gets into the brush because walking over here, his doggos took a little bit of damage, but otherwise everything is calm on Summoner's Rift. And we'll see how Keen is going to be able to get through this matchup against the Kled. This has been a difficult one. Shiu's performance comes to mind about how he dealt with the Olaf with this Kled. And we'll see whether that is going to be something that KT can leverage here in this game. Because if they do just kind of snowball out of control, the whole conversation about the Olaf thing is just not going to be relevant.
Absolutely. I mean, Olaf is a stat check champion. And if you have more stats, if you are stronger, you can just deal with him. I think there is strong side lane matchups for KT with having the Kled and Olaf. We've seen that matchup go well. With having the Jhin Karma into Yunara Lulu, and notably Ruler going Cleanse, which makes complete sense when you're into TF, but isn't the highest value in lane. As much as there is some CC from Geo and Effort, having the barrier would give you a stronger 2v2, and so Ruler going for that for a bit of the late game, and that's kind of how Genji have to approach this. They want to get to the later stages, they want to be powerful when we sort of get past the laning phase, and there will be pressure from Ju and Effort in the bot lane. It's just a matter of surviving, farming up to be strong.
Yeah. And I find it kind of fun that we've got one of the oldest matchups in the mid lane possible as well between the Rise and the Twisted Fate.
You know,
the more things change, the more they stay the same, you know?
I always remember that quote years and years and years and years ago from Faker talking about if you want to be a great mid laner, you got to learn Rise and you got to learn TF. Because one of them teaches you, how to view the map and how to play the map, and the other one teaches you about combos and ability sequencing. What's funny is that both of them now have a global ultimate.
Yeah.
That you can play around.
So actually, you just need to play Rise.
That's the lesson here.
You really don't need to worry about TF anymore, and a lot of our players have taken that to heart. We haven't really seen all that much TF outside of BDD, Faker, and Showmaker, really, here in the LCK. Not many of our other players do like to play this guy. And I think once you're a TF player, you're always a TF player, is kind of how it goes. And our more cerebral mid laners that do like to play the map game, TF will always be valuable.
Yeah. So one thing that I was thinking about when I saw the patch changes is obviously Sundered Sky talked about it a little bit in draft, how in the early skirmishes you actually break even at 2 procs of the healing. I'm going to hold that thought because Cuz is looking for an angle here, but I think Chovy just walks us out.
Yeah, Dagger's both going to go wide. Really good side steps here from Chovy, who's actually just going in for the 1v2. Canyon's going to show up as Cuz able to get himself out of the way. Canyon unable to time the Sonic Wave exactly right to hit him after the untargetability. Some daggers will land, but you can see Canyon very, very confident with the health advantage that his mid laner does have. And Cuz going to get pushed away. That is going to be the steal right under his nose, or multiple noses. And just going to safeguard his way out of there. Cuz coming on over, but I don't know whether he can really contest this.
Has the smite advantage, so he's looking for an angle for that.
Yeah, Resonating Strike isn't going to quite work here. It's a lot of damage missing, but with the daggers not landing either and BDD coming back at full health, this should be the Scuttler on the top side going over to Cuz, and that's a double Scuttle actually here for KT.
Yeah, so Chovy reset then. Went for the reset, wanted a timing to get his buys in, and it meant that Canyon didn't have the support to continue that contest. Canyon making the right read to back off, but it has given Cuz an advantage in the jungle.
That's a big one.
And so just to go back to the point I was making, it's 2 procs. When you're at 1 item, if you get 2 procs, it breaks even with the extra health the item has. So the item's still pretty strong. But a champion we saw who was heavily going Eclipse already was Lee Sin. There's a lot of contest between the two.
Oh dear, that's an exhaust onto Perfect as Keen is just going to run him down. Skull comes back though. Bear Trap on the rope is going to miss. That means that at least Keen is not going to get punished for this. And yeah, Trovy's looking for the dive. There is both summoners on Perfect. He is playing very defensively and has Cuz in tow, but there is the Ghost. They're committing to this one. As Chovy wants to deal with the minion wave, does get a little bit distracted by CS. Can never blame him for that. It is Chovy after all.
BDD just got ult.
Yep, and now BDD is going to make his way in. Keen doesn't quite have it, wants to take down the minion, gets the Ragnarok, and now Perfect is knocked off Skull! Doesn't have the undertow though, and there is the Kled staying alive, and first blood over to KT.
Great angle there by BDD, hits level 6, comes up immediately, and they managed to get that kill, but I still have to feel like it's not super worth it because Keen's still quite a bit ahead in farm, and Canyon's looking to pick up the dragon. That being said, Effort is trying to prevent this. If they can stop them from getting the Canna Dragon, this would feel pretty fantastic for KT.
I don't think it's going to happen though, as Yu does land a Deadly Flourish onto Duro. Effort is trying to get some damage down here as well, as Cuz finally making his way over. 56 health on the Drake, but Canyon will be able to flash his way out of the back of the pit and gets over towards his Krug camp to stay alive. Duro as well at 100 health, but they will live. And that is the main thing, I guess, here for Gen G.
That was a delicate one. Perfect now moving down towards mid. They're looking for Chovy. Chovy does have Flash, but no Realm Warp.
Yeah, he is just going to charge on in, but there's no one here anymore.
You can see KT trying to make these proactive plays, but there is a cost to this. Keen right now really far ahead of farm in this matchup. Even with the assist gold, just not really being enough here. And the big thing is it was BDD hit level 6 from that wave he stayed for. Comes in, Keen isn't level 6, but he hits the minion to get it, an ult, but it's just not quite enough to take down the Kled. So it's still, KT get the kill, that's good, that's positive, but it's a massive deficit in the top lane despite that, which is what I'm a little bit concerned about.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that a lot of the gold that KT are going to have is going to be just the TF tax, right? That is just how this champion kind of functions. And we're going to expect KT to be ahead in gold throughout this game. It's only 7 minutes, so a 300 like gold lead isn't TF, you know,
well,
outside of the fact that he did get first blood.
It averages, I think it's 4 gold as you average for minions, because he cheats, he gets 6 more often. So you can kind of take away 4 times his CS, which is about 250.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
pretty close.
And it's one of these things where it's always like, well, I mean, they do have that gold. It's not like they don't have it, but that's obviously budgeted into TF strength. So I think they'll need a bit more than the 500 gold lead they have now to feel comfortable in this game. But I do like that they've been proactive. If you're going to have a composition like this, you want to make things happen, and you want to look to challenge and find angles.
See whether they can.
Make plays.
Because currently moving up towards his Krug camp, I'm pretty sure. We'll see whether he gets a punish towards Keen. He does have his Ragnarok back, but doesn't have Flash just yet. And his exhaust is still on the way. So, yes, he does have a severe CS advantage, but might be a gankable option if they can play around that ultimate effectively.
I think it's really hard when the ult's there. Just hard to keep him locked into the play. He can just pop it and run away.
I like that rhyme. That was very good.
Thank you. Krug's going to be, not Krug's, Grub's going to be picked up here by Gen.G.
Oh, did you watch Grug? Was that an Australian show? Never mind, I'll hold that thought as Ruler is just getting the curtains called to him as the flash gets him out of the way and didn't quite have vision, I don't think, as the last bullet is used on the wave.
Those were some phenomenal reads, though, from Jiwoo. The one he caught him as he dashed.
Yeah.
So, Ruler down everything. No sums, no ult. Perfect, though. Also,
he's down a dinosaur.
Yeah, not in a good spot here. BDD not in a position to move yet either.
Yeah, Canyon just going to make his way over. Takes a couple of turret shots. Is now perfect. Is looking for Skull to make his way back in. I think he might have it in this skirmish. His health bar does get back up decently high. Q lands though, and down goes the Kled. No Skull in sight.
This was so beautifully played by Keen and Canyon because they kept their distance to not give him the free remount. And they just played the time, played the clock, knew that there was no backup coming, and eventually the kick, the CC into the execute means they can take him out before a remount comes, before he can flash and then ult away. Just a patient play, and it's just really putting Perfect in a bad spot.
Oh, speaking of bad spots, Cuz is going to be caught on his little invade here. Krugs are going to get delayed for a few moments as Ruler and Duro really respecting Cuz's positioning here, backing away from that turret, not wanting to get dove or anything like that, especially with the Kled able to make his way down this lane. Yes, he doesn't have teleport yet, but he wasn't actually seen on the top side of the map yet, so they could have been going for something with that charge. Now that they've seen him, they can feel a lot more comfortable.
If you look on the minimap, you can actually see Keen was coming down to the bot lane to cover that. Chobi also moved over with a Realm Warp, so Gen.G, despite Canyon being on the top side, the solo lanes had made moves to cover and prevent, counteract any sort of dive that KT wanted to go for. And they have moved back to their lanes now and are looking at the top side, but they did mitigate any attempt from KT if they were going to try and dive Ruler and Duro.
Yeah, it was nicely done. As now, Ruler and Duro just chilling out underneath this turret. Nice little Q to connect here from Effort, and there is still a pretty big lead here for Jiu. Actually, 12 CS is not a bad margin here for the Jin. And so KT being able to find some advantages here in this game. It's just not quite enough to really move the needle too far, right? We're seeing a 200 gold lead and a Drake advantage here for Gen.G. Next Drake, speaking of which, is going to be up in 3 seconds' time. Cuz just went home, but Cycle Sword is now done. Canyon at the same time finishes the Eclipse. I think both of these junglers looking to fight.
Yeah, and it's, you know, the Eclipse, they buff the damage on it, an extra 2% max HP damage. The burst available to Canyon right now is kind of crazy. He has to be respected on this item spike.
See whether they do. Going to be moving in. They get the bad news that item is completed. Cuz though, still feeling confident as we can see. Effort moving on down as BDD has got the gold card. And there's the ulti. Phenomenal wild growth is going to interrupt Cuz as the curtain has been called. And Duro was able to avoid that last shot. So Jiu's like, well, I pressed my ultimate button. I'm going to go back to lane now. And Duro just going to be able to avoid Cuz's daggers here as he looks to try and get some support down for Ruler at the same time. And it looks like KT will get the inside track on this Drake and look to start it up.
Yeah, I think a lot of tools burnt there by Gen G to keep Chovy safe. KT go aggressive, find an angle. And it's the fact that it was the kick away from Canyon and the wild growth, and Chovy flashed anyway. I think for me, maybe it was just the right call just to commit the flash early from Chovy, keep all those other resources if you did want to fight, but the end result is KT will pick up that dragon. Canyon is trying to challenge the top side of the map, but there aren't any camps for him to take, and now the bot lane's vulnerable because they went for this heavy lead on the top side. Keen does have TP if he wants to move, but it looks like Chovy and Canyon are running down now. They have the Realm Warp that will get them there pretty quickly if anything happens.
Yeah, it's a bit scary to try and go for a dive given the fact that Chovy does exist with that button. Doesn't quite have level 11 just yet, so the Realm Warp is still only level 1.
I think
but still.
every single time that you see KT set up for a dive in the bot lane, get the members there, look in position, and then they have to back off because Gen G moved to respond, it's just really hitting KT and how they want to push the pace of this game forward. So Gen G keeping a good mark on them and stopping this dive from happening.
The one thing that I do want to say, though, is that an Infernal Soul really helps KT
Oh, yeah.
in this game. They need damage. That dragon should be able to get them there if they can manage to keep picking these up. First one going over to Canyon maybe isn't even a big deal because they get 3 of the Infernal Drakes if they're able to monopolize the dragon taking as this game goes on. Great Deadly Flourish here onto Chovy, who gets taken down to 50% health. They're not really fighting over too much, though, as Cuz goes down very low, just fighting with Canyon. That Eclipse you were talking about, paying dividends right now.
Oh, Cuz might be in trouble if he finds him.
Yeah, I think Canyon just going to go into effort for now. Finds a lot of damage with that Resonating Strike. Snare does come down, but now Keen is moving in. Gives him a safeguard target as now the gate comes down. BDD trying to get himself out of there, gets the flash out of the TF, and they will just back away.
Really well played there by Gen G. Keen didn't even ult, didn't exhaust, didn't flash. They knew BDD was going to flash over the wall. They took that. His Destiny is gone as well, and they're satisfied with those resources not being available. BDD's ability to impact the map has been reduced as a result of them burning both of those cooldowns. And Herald up in a minute is what I expect Gen G to be playing towards. Also, Mikhail's Rush, it's been picked up now by Duro, which is a great answer to that TF.
Yeah, huge deal. The biggest thing, though, here in this game is the Olaf. This Viking is just absurd. He went back, finished his Hex Plate, has the Steel Caps as well, and he is 50 CS up, or at least was. 45 right now, and as he starts to batter down this wave, it's only going to get worse. Perfect does have one item, but doesn't have any shoes. And yes, he's riding a dinosaur. That feels pretty good. You can go a bit faster with your charge and stuff like that, but this is going to be a big advantage for Keen. Steel Caps are so powerful into the Kled.
I feel like it'd be pretty uncomfortable just barefoot in like the stirrups, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not very good at barefoot just in general. You know, I'm a shoe wearer.
Yeah.
It's been difficult for me here in Korea because it's a shoes-off country. Whereas we just wear our shoes everywhere in Australia.
Really? I thought Australia would be more sandal-y sort of vibe.
Oh yeah, we do that as well, but I don't really do I guess I should say flip-flops here on this broadcast, but that's not the name that we have for them. As Perfect taking some damage here. We'll see whether Skull does get evicted from the lane, and not quite looks to be the answer.
I think of all the situations that could arise from this game, I think Kled being this far behind an Olaf is probably one of the worst for KT's chances in it.
Yeah.
We've seen as well that Ruler's been able to pick up some gold, and even though he's 10 CS down, he's pretty even in terms of gold there. I think KT's timer is ticking, and things like the Herald are big objectives you really need in your pockets and not in your opponent. You can see Canyon's already started up, but KT are trying to push him away.
Yeah, Canyon not going to be deterred, though, as we can see. All 3 of them not actually able to move up towards this Herald. As finally, Shelly will just lose patience, goes back to her house. Cuz just trying to fish for some of these daggers. Perfect will be able to get back down here towards his bottom side. It's over a 50 CS gap now.
1,500 gold is a crazy lead to have already.
And they have the same scoreline. It's ridiculous. My gosh. Okay, well, Cuz just going to have to bounce out of there. I think that Gen G will be able to take this Rift Herald. They've invested enough to deserve it at this point, but you can see BDD moving over. Does now have the Destiny up and available once again. Kind of thought that Gen G were going to be able to take this Herald before that came back, but it's not actually going to mean anything as it turns out.
UCG were able to get some damage on the mid lane tower, but Gen G securing the Herald. I'm not really losing too much.
15 seconds on the Drake as well, Dan.
Yep, something to look toward. If they can use the Herald, they can use it as a combat Herald. They can use it to put pressure mid, so they can force KT away. I think they'll definitely want to slam it before they fight. One thing with having the Herald on Lee Sin, it feels a bit uncomfortable that it takes up your trinket slot, which is also your mobility.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're just not even interested in the Dragon. I mean, at the end of the day, it is only a second Dragon for KT. If they can find a way to get a lot of gold on the top side of the map, then that trade-off can really be worth it for Gen G.
Yeah, I think Gen G just realizing that this one they don't necessarily need to fight for, maybe Soul Point, something that they want to try and deny, and instead get themselves more of a gold advantage, which they have built up for themselves thanks to Keen, basically, on this Olaf being pretty much unstoppable. And getting towards that item number 2 as well. Stridebreaker is such a big deal on this champion.
Oh, the Tiamat just to clear out all the little ones.
Yeah.
The 56 gold. Some efficient camp contesting from Keen there.
And if Cuz is there, there's even more little ones because there's little doggos as well. Oh, Tiamat value just out of control. 1,000 gold, though, is not the kind of thing that KT want to be staring down the barrel of because they want the advantage here in this game.
Yeah, the top tower is picked up there, and then actually they've reset from that side of the map. You can see Chovy moving down behind Keen to put pressure on this bot lane tower, while the bot lane and Canyon throw the Herald down mid. So 2 lanes where KT is really feeling the pressure right now and struggling to respond to either. Chovy now hovering in the river so he can assist either lane with a Realm Warp if needed.
Yeah, he's just sort of making sure that they have everything under control. And Keen will just be able to eviscerate this wave and go about his business. This CS margin is just extending over and over again.
Then you look at the
Currently
timing.
62.
BDD finally pushes the wave in, and Chovy's made his way up there with the Realm Warp to pick up the wave. So it's not even like they missed anything. It was just a really heads-up play from Gen G, good assignments, and playing through those 2 lanes, really shutting KT out of this game.
Yeah. And now Canyon going to go in, going to go out. Not going to get snared as the Destiny Gate did come on down here from BDD. Keen looking for a bit of an angle. Chug, chug indeed, Mr. Olaf.
Ruler has Cleanse and Duro has Mikhail's, and they felt so confident there, neither of them pressed it.
Wow.
I think that just kind of shows how Gen G felt so in control. I also like that Canyon went in, forced a Destiny, instantly safeguards out. They're just burning these resources again and again and just limiting the tools that KT has to make plays while keeping theirs available. There's still 5 flashes on Gen G. They still even have those backup summoners like the Cleanse, like Chovy's Ghost and Keen's Exhaust. And we do get the Runans coming in for Ruler that was just buffed on this patch to have more damage on the split bolts coming through and a bit more movement speed. So we're wondering if we're going to see this one, and Ruler has wasted no time in bringing it out.
Yeah, and I think this was actually built as well by Doctarm in the Kesper Cup final yesterday on the Yanara, and looked very good on that one as well. Actually picked up, I believe, a pentakill towards the end of that game.
Yeah, pentakill's pretty good.
Monster.
That's solid.
And Doctarm is not necessarily one of our players that we associate with the Yanara. Definitely associate him with Lulu-based champions, but we are going to hold that thought for a moment as Ju does take some damage. Canyon will just be backing away once again. So many smoke and mirrors being thrown at KT, and you don't want to be hit by a mirror, ladies and gentlemen. That can be very dangerous, but that seems to be what Canyon's doing. He's just throwing them around like a frisbee, and KT just feel like they're just on the back foot perpetually here in this game, unable to move around the rift and get things done the way they want to because this composition has so much mobility. If you do manage to find anyone that's isolated, you can turn on a dime to pick them up, but they just have no map control. And Gen G are able to capitalize on it.
And I think just playing it so patiently, playing the way we've seen Gen G do many times before, where it feels so frustrating to be against. KT honestly just want Gen G to just go in, to start a fight, but instead it's just whittling away at them constantly. And the kill score may be 1-1, but there's been so many situations where a fight could have happened, and Gen G either prevented it, blocked it, or just refused to engage because there was no need for them to do so. And now as we go to the mid game, 1,800 lead for Gen G. We have also a composition that just scales so much better than what KT have on offer. And I think it's a really tough situation for KT. 30 seconds on this next dragon. Gen.G look to be contesting it. If KT lose out on this,
yeah,
the game may be irredeemable.
It feels like a death nail. I have to say, I think the action has been a little bit too high in this game. 1 kill per 10 minutes, I think, is just... That's a bit overboard for me. But that's neither here nor there. That's more of a subjective thing. I just much prefer if this was a little bit more cool, calm, and collected. Right now, it's just been a little bit too exciting. 3 seconds. And the dragon's going to come up. We'll see whether that is going to get some more action out of these squads, or whether we will have a return to calmness. And Gen.G will just be able to lock this one down. It looks like Cuz is happy to fight for it, but he doesn't quite find the daggers here. And BDD, we're going to get some splitting done towards this top side of the map. Lichbane in hand means that he is very good at that split. Keen not going to be able to defend this one. Gen.G will be able to take down the dragon, and it is 2 Drakes apiece. And yeah, KT looks like they made the decision to give that up. Just don't know whether they're going to feel that great about it.
Yeah, I mean, it stalls the Soul and Elder till so late in this game. They're not really going to be major factors. You think the soonest KT could have Infernal Soul is like 33 minutes into this game, which is just so far away. As a result, it just feels like it's slipping away from them. It's not a huge gold lead. It's obviously even in kills, but it feels like the time is ticking on for them. I will say, better that they gave it up than they fight it, lose the fight and the dragon. Yeah. But something needs to happen for them soon. Well, I think time will run out.
Yeah, it's definitely better that they didn't lose their Nexus at that moment, I would say, as far as staying in the game is concerned. Gen.G, this is such a difficult state of the game to be in if you're facing off against a Gen.G that are very happy about their position in the ultra late game, right?
Yeah. If
they're just very happy to take this comp as late as you like, then they will just play this carefully. There's a kickback. I mean, Effort's just really dead. Not a whole lot that he could do about that one. Canyon not even investing the flash, going for the safeguard kick instead. And so he will be able to do that again as soon as that Dragon Rage kick is back up again. Oh dear. Okay, we're not allowed to have any more kills though, guys. No more kills as Ruler's ignoring me completely. Cuz is very dead. Chovy shows up as well right underneath the turret, happy to tank it up. And that is 2 dead now. Gen.G, they can just skip over to the Baron pit and take down the Purple Worm.
Yep, it's Terry as well as the Baron, so not that much damage coming from it. Cuz down means no smite to contest, and it just feels like it kind of came to a boiling point eventually. Canyon finds his pick onto Effort. It's a great angle here where he's trying to clear out this vision line and contest Baron. But it was a trap set by Gen.G. And then in the follow-up, Cuz wanted to contest this area. Ruler gets the red buff, and Cuz actually fails to flip over the wall. And Ruler is just ruthless at punishing it. We have the follow-up from Chovy. And this is the game.
Yeah.
This is now Gen.G already in a position where a little bit more, and I think the game was just theirs. Now they picked the Baron, all those kills, 4,000 gold lead. KT did not find that window, and I think it's closed now.
I think so too. I think it was slammed shut, and I think they may have got their fingers caught in it. It's really looking dire, and the fact that Ruler gets those couple of kills, the fact that Ruler is now 1.8k gold ahead, as well as Keen. Like, these were going to be the biggest issues for KT to deal with, is late game Yunara and Olaf in general. And Olaf in general is just monstrously far ahead, has been all game long. But now that Yunara problem is very, very prevalent, and they have a Baron to boot. It is just, it's a cavalcade of negative things to talk about here for KT. But let's see whether they can do the unimaginable, the impossible, as they look to settle underneath this turret and make something happen. Does off to the side, just going to be avoiding sonic waves and things like that as BDD throws out the gold card. Ruler is going to be cleansed by the Mikhails this time. Still retains his cleanse. As now, Skull going to be taking a little bit of damage, but Perfect not too worried now that he does have his mount up and available.
You can see Chovy constantly just moving between the lanes where they have pressure, being that threat, him and Canyon, both of them, stopping KT from pushing through them and getting a potential flank, but also ready to assist should either lane need the help. They see a window mid where Perfect moved up to help Cuz. The tower drops, And now Genji going to look for a reset, spend some of the gold that they picked up, and open back on the map. They got another minute of Baron available to them, but it's 50 seconds away from that Dragon, so if they end up playing through the bot side of the map, they can sort of choke KT out of that area while also pushing these lanes in.
And the gold lead is just extending. Oh no, Ox.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
The actualizer.
Yeah, I think it's actually over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually done.
I think this might be a last-ditch effort we see from KT. They might just opt to forego the Dragon, but the game definitely feels very shut and dry at this point. It would take a crazy team fight from KT to bring this back from here.
Would agree. And Genji, they are not going to speed up the play. They are not going to take any unnecessary risks. This is, I feel like we've gone back to the Genji of old that will just suffocate you.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take any risks doing it. They're not the kind of team to just shut you out of a game. So Canyon looking for an angle here towards Cuz. And Ruler is just dashing into 3 people. There's a Realm Warp, but no one is going to come out of it. And now the charge gets into the backline. Perfect. Just all alone, though, as Cuz just going to be pushed away. The Ragnarok here from Keen, and he's chasing after this Neferi. Cuz goes down first, and now KT are scattered. There's a flash forward from Chovy, looks for the Rune Prison, gets it onto BDD, and now just runs away. Ruler with the sidestep is beautiful from that deadly flourish. And KT have now been pushed all the way back to their inhibitor turret, as sharing the bullets here, and Chovy going to take a fair bit of damage. Duro going to Wild Growth to make sure that he doesn't take enough to kill him. And now Canyon dealing with this destiny to come on through as Ruler kind of by himself. As perfect cleanse there from Ruler. Looks to take down BDD. His effort has to flash away. BDD's still dead though. Canyon gets the flash E in order to take him down and boots him in the noggin. That is going to be 4 on the floor. Perfect. The witness to this tragedy for KT. And Genji are still just going to go back, try and find the Kled, or look to take down a Dragon. It is not time to kill any Nexus turrets, okay? We don't do that. We don't kill inhibitor turrets.
They're in no rush.
Dragon.
And I felt like, oh, Cuz is looking for the angle. He does have the smite, but it's going quick.
Well, Cuz is just going to bear witness to this one as well, and may now die, as there is the Tempest Cripple to slow him down. Flash out of the way for the Neferi, so Cuz will survive.
Yeah, Canyon actually didn't have smite there, so that was a little bit precarious, but they get it down before Cuz can make it back. That whole passage of play was a little bit on knife's edge for Genji. I think they did step up quite aggressively. But the key thing to note is that earlier, Ruler didn't actually use his cleanse here. He holds it. He holds his cleanse despite being stunned. He's like, I don't want to burn this frivolously, and it ends up paying off massively later on. The fight plays out, they jump on Keen, and he just decimates Cuz. And then it starts to get a little bit of an overstep from Genji. You see the flash from Chovy, but look how much damage they're taking in return. And then when Jiwoo opens with the ult, you start to think, oh, is this the fight that KT was looking for? Is this their moment to get back into this game? But the critical thing is that Ruler maintained that cleanse, maintained that cooldown, so when they come back into the fight, it's actually BDD who looks for him. But he cleanses and just immediately can start putting the damage down in return. And I think they may have just miscalculated, not expected him to still have that cooldown, and he and Canyon just clean that up.
He's playing hyper aggressively as well here in this game. That cleanse was just absolutely perfect, as you mentioned before, but this is a Yunara in the front line. And he's like, well, Canyon's obviously just going to run amok and kill them all, and that is precisely what happened. Infinity Edge is now done, so it's worse. It was already very bad, but now it is definitely worse.
Yeah, so much damage available. And with the buffed Runans as well, you're just going to kill everyone in front of you.
Yeah, he is half the gold lead that Genji have as a team right now. A full item ahead of a Jhin, and even if they are on even items, I would say the Yunara is 5 times more valuable at this stage of the game in a 5v5 team fight.
There's just so many threats. They're actually going to look onto the Baron, and Canyon's just going to play Bouncer here. Chovy as well is playing up on the top lane. KT going to try and approach this. They might have to pop the Destiny just to get vision off the area. There we go.
They do spot out what Genji are trying to do. The Slurkle comes down to slow Cuz up. High value Slurkle there, and there is going to be the flash out. Ragnarok now is BDD. What are you going to be able to do about this Viking? The answer is die, as there's the Undertow to finish him off. Cuz trying to kite this one out. and they might be able to deal with the Olaf. Actually, never mind. They will not be able to deal with the Olaf, and they cannot deal with this. Yunara finds the Karma. Down goes Effort, and now Jiu just gets dashed on and destroyed. And I think Gen G, they're finished with this game now. They'll finish it off.
This game hit critical mass. KT had a timer. They weren't able to make the proactive plays because Gen G shut them down every time. And then it got to this point where Gen G just run them over because so low already after just a few autos.
Yeah, and now Perfect gonna get booted back, then evicted from Skull, taken down. Couple of kills, one on a turret, one on a Kled here for the Olaf. An absolute monster was Keen this game, but Gen G as a whole, just ruthless, meticulous.
And I could see a different team piloting Gen G's comp wouldn't have done as well because Keen dominated this lane matchup despite the fact we've seen Kled do well here. Chovy was constantly leaning to cover the side lanes, and Canyon was just so expertly playing this Lee Sin, going in and out whenever he needed.
넘어가야 돼. 나 넘어갈 때 준비할게 나도. 나도 그냥 같이 넘어갈 생각할게요. 이거 나필이 노플이라 나필이 좀. 민가 너 이쪽에 있는 게 나을 듯? 네 확인. 야 여기 태페. 야 먹자 이런 먹자. 태페 굴감 뽑아놨다. 야 볼게 이거. 싸우자. 가자. 천천히.
나 이긴 거 같아.
맞아. 나 군대요. 나 궁 안 쓸게 그냥. 나 재영형만 본다 이제. W 쓸래? 몇 초? 나 W 줬어요 형. 똑같게. 네. 나 W 3초. W 3초.
알았어. 끝나면 되겠다.
형 올라프가 형 말이 안 돼. 잘 되긴 했어. 돌대야 돌대.